under participants, it starts to tally.
You got it. Nice.
Yeah.
We'll just give it a couple of minutes here.
Ooh, it's so exciting to see people arrive.
Very exciting. I'm sure we'll have people kind of stroll in slightly late as well, but in the essence and respect of everybody's time here, I will get started. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Inspiring Speakers Series event presented by Alberta Blue Cross. For those who don't know me, my name is Michelle O'Keary, and I am the CEO of Compassion House Foundation, an organization that supports women battling cancer. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional meeting grounds and home of many Indigenous peoples, including the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, and Nakota Sioux peoples. As a Métis person who grew up torn between two identities, living in two different worlds and struggling to fit in either, I find I'm so grateful for the opportunity to present this event tonight. It is a great honor and privilege to work with the Indigenous communities throughout Alberta and beyond in the development and delivery of many of our programs and services here at Compassion House Foundation. For the next hour, we're going to learn about traditional Indigenous medicines and building our own medicine pouches under the direction of Elder Sylvia M. Fox. In honoring traditional ways, we would like to offer our elder a gift of tobacco.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heidi. We're so grateful to you for sharing your time and your expertise with us tonight. We will start the event with a smudge and a prayer, followed by a breathing exercise, and then move into building our pouches. At the end, we'll have some time for questions, so please feel free to use the chat function throughout the event. Additionally, we would love to see you share your pouches with us by posting on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook and tagging at YEGCHF. That's at YEG Compassion House Foundation. Now, before we start, I'd like to acknowledge that this event would not be possible without our incredible sponsor, Alberta Blue Cross. Alberta Blue Cross has been a longtime supporter of the foundation, and their sponsorship for this event is incredibly appreciated. Here on behalf of Alberta Blue Cross to say a few words is Narissa Kanji, Manager of Community Impact.
Hi, thank you so much for that warm welcome. Hi everyone, I'm Narissa Kanji, Community Impact Manager at Alberta Blue Cross, and I want to welcome you all to the Inspiring Speaker Series. Wow, it is so great to see so many people here tonight. We are so grateful for you coming. I know that this session sold out quite quickly, but it was so wonderful to see the interest that our community had in this fantastic series. Community is at the heart of everything that we do at Alberta Blue Cross. Opportunities like this that engage, connect, and inspire our community mean so much to us. And I can't wait to hear from Heidi Davis and Sylvia Elder about the Indigenous medicines and protection pouches. I know we're going to learn so much, and I can't wait to see everyone's pouches at the end of this. We are so grateful for our partnership with the Compassion House and inspired daily by their impact that they make in our community. We're proud to sponsor this fantastic series, and thank you so much for having us, and I hope you enjoy the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Narissa. We're incredibly grateful for your support. As I mentioned earlier, these types of events don't happen without the support of our community partners, and it is very rare for us to be able to provide everything for an event like this free of charge. So again, thank you to Alberta Blue Cross. And now, without further ado, I want to pass it over to Heidi Davis from AHS and our elder, Sylvia Ann Fox. Thank you.
Okay, so in events like what we're going to be sharing today and sharing our knowledge with our Indigenous ways, we always start off with our prayer, our Blackfoot prayer. So I will smudge, and this is our sage here that I'll be using, and the sweet grass, and I have the eagle feather here. So this is what I'll be using today. And I will speak in our language, and in this I will already translate. I will be calling on the Creator to walk with us and to guide us tonight. to help us to be able to fully understand exactly what we're going to be doing, and that this bag that we're making is to protect us from all, especially like right now with COVID, what's going on, and just from negative energy that sometimes we do walk into. So it is, working in the health field, it's really something that we need. So I will start off with the smudge now. I used to bad a PUP. I ukimatu kinani naksistikoi. I nukspomo kinan. I nakutwaka mutsimo kinan. Daka bay istmatsaya mahansta bay. Ispomstosa. I used to bad a PUP. I ukimatu kinani naksistikoi. I nakukinan kamutani isami bad pi sinuni. So with the smudge that I just asked the creator again, like to walk with us this evening and to help us and guide us in the things that we're going to do, that we're going to be doing the medicine pouches, and it's something that we highly respect here, and that we and with the medicine pouch that we're working on today, it's it will contain a part of the sweetgrass and sage that we put together, and that is our protection. So as you could see, Heidi has one here, and this is what we use. Okay, so we'll move over now and we'll start.
Yeah, I'll quickly do the breathing exercise. Yes. So what we thought we would do, and thank you so much for the land acknowledgement, and Sylvia and I are here on Blackfoot territory in southern Alberta, and so we join you in that celebration and with that gratitude and respect. We are here at the Chinook Regional Hospital in a room called the Ceremony Room, and it's been dedicated by our elders. When it's used for Indigenous wellness and with Indigenous ceremony, it's called the Golden Eagle Lodge. And we've had years of pretty beautiful memories in this room with patients from end of life to brand new little babies to so much wisdom and story being shared. So this is one more element of sharing that this room will hold now. And so starting with just a really quick grounding exercise, and I think a lot of the benefits of this kind of engagement can be lost because we are in a busy forward motion world. Everything is fast-paced, productivity-based, we're busy. And sometimes it's a health crisis or an event, a tragedy, a pandemic. Sometimes something like that can stop you in your tracks, but center you and ground you to really go back to some of those traditional teachings or to things that are important. So just to take a couple of minutes to breathe before we start is a great way of grounding and down regulating the nervous system so we can fully enjoy this experience. So please join me. If you're able to put your feet flat on the earth, and you can have a hand over your heart if that feels okay, but totally optional. Inhaling through the nose to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling out the nose to the count of 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. And now visualize a box. So inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, exhaling, 4, 3, 2, 1, inhaling, 1, 2, 3, 4, exhaling through the nose, 4, 3, 2, 1. Carry on for a couple of cycles of breath at your own pace, but breathing through the nose, really down regulating and grounding. Inviting yourself to arrive in this moment. Beautiful. Blinking your eyes open if they were closed. And yes, beautiful. Thank you. I've learned from my elder that when a teaching is shared or an experience like that is shared, to take that experience to my heart and really have that respect. And yes, so thank you. That was beautiful. We will move on to where we've set up our beads and join us in about 10 seconds. Okay. Lean forward. So we showed you this pouch. This pouch has been across Canada and all across Europe in the summer of 2019, and it was made by Sylvia, and you can see it has a fringe pattern in the bottom and this beading pattern that represents the 4 directions. This is one example. Here's one with the edges beaded, if you can see that one with the beadwork up and down the seams. And then here's one. This is from the buffalo ceremony from Sylvia's family. And it's Chief Mountain. That's a very sacred mountain to the west of us with a buffalo. And it's beaded all along the edges of the pouch. So those are some examples to have in mind as Sylvia gets us started.
Okay, so we have a pattern here by 2 inches and by 5. So this is the pattern that we'll use. And the height that we have, this is where we'll place the hide right, the pattern right onto the hide. With your scissors, all you do is take it and you cut along the edge of it to start on your pattern. So I'm cutting across now, and I will save the rest of the hide for my to tie for the lanyard part there. There's a number of ways we can work on the medicine pouch here. We can use the hole puncher too, and that's a whole lot easier to do. So so here we go. So we have the pattern now cut out. Okay, good. So now we will fold it, and you leave an inch on the top. And so this is what we're going to be putting together, the side here and on the side here. I will show you how to stitch along the side and on this side, and then we'll use the hole puncher to keep our pouch in the front. We'll tie it down with a little hide. So we'll start here, and you can go ahead and thread your needle, and it's always usually at like arm's length. You could use your arm as a guide to use. And you cut your thread in an angle so it's easier to thread into the needle. So this is cut in an angle, and here are the needles. So we'll just pull one out, and we could get this going here, and we'll go ahead and we'll thread the needle. So here we go, we got this in, and again we just come down right to the end, and you could take it as you come to the edge here, it's in an even, you take it and you pull it around your finger once into a loop, and you could leave it on your finger just to hold it steady, and then you take your needle, because we're doing a knot right now, and you come in right into the round circle and you pull it through. And it's always good to really secure your thread down. So I usually go at a 4. So that's 3 and 4. So now I have it all in, and now I'll push it back. So here's my knot there. I will cut the end part of the thread here. And now I will start the edge part, but I just want to make sure that everything here is even with your, this looks okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I really don't want my knot to show, so I'll go inside and I'll go to the bottom of the hide, because we're going to work our way up. So here we go, and we pull it through. Okay, now I did work on orange. Now I'll go with the navy color pouch here, and here are the beads. And I will go with 4 beads. And all we're going to do is loop it around. And so you could take 4 beads. And sometimes it's good just to pull it through, and so you know you have the beads in between your fingers. And then you take your needle and you just pull it through. So this is how it is. And then now you'll come around. So it's in the front here. And now you're gonna loop around. So we're just gonna go, and you could go 1 hide at a time. 2 hide is kind of hard to pull the needle through. So if you only go with 1 hide first and then pull it through, and then go into the front of the hide, so that so the loop is coming around. So I need to change this. I would just give me a minute here. And sometimes when if you know you've done something, like you can pull your needle back through and come back out, and because it's not hard to, if you feel that you've done something, like right now I accidentally put the needle, okay, so here we go. Because I'm looping it around, like almost like I just need to, okay, so it's always good to pull the needle, the threads right down so you see where you're going. So now I'm going to come around this way. So here we go, and it's take this one through and then to the other side. Okay, so it comes right around. So here's the first loop here. And now we're going to take another 4 beads. And you could keep it on your string like this and just use your fingers to pull 4 into your thumb and your middle finger, and then you just take your needle and you pull it right through the 4 beads. And so now, oh, I accidentally put my beads on my thread. Okay, so, and now we come to the second part of that, and now we're gonna pull the thread and the needle through again. Mind you, this being your first time, don't feel overwhelmed. It takes a lot of practicing. It took a while for Heidi to catch on, but like I always say, never give up.
That's true. Although I was halfway through one moccasin and it was taking so long, Sylvia put it in her purse and brought it back to me completely beaded and finished. So never give up, or else just be very patient.
Okay, so as we move along, I'm going into the third overlap, looping it. And you could adjust it as you go by making it like, you can take and you can move it around with your fingers here. And now I'm going to take on, and so that's what I'll be doing. I'll just be going along and looping it all through. And Heidi, do you want to do another pattern here? And so we could show them how to do that.
The punches?
Yeah, because
Yes.
that one's really, it's a whole lot easier. Okay, here you go again. You can see it. Take another 4 beads and then just come around. So,
I think some of us are struggling a little. How far from the outside should it be?
Quite close.
Okay.
So I'm gonna actually try to bring these beads right to the camera. So I'm going right alongside Sylvia, and I've just started. So I have my hide in not quite thirds, but measured out to have the little pouch.
Mhm.
And very close to the edge, like I'd say 1/8 of an inch or less. I've put the thread through, and then the beads will press down against it right at the edge. And then I'll come over top and back through the back piece of hide, like this. So we're doing kind of the back, pulling it through, and then to the front, just because it's easier than going through a double layer of hide. So then as you pull back up through the front, those beads begin to lay flat across the whole edge, see? So for example, for this orange one, now that it's done, oh, there's a good view. So it's like a little candy cane stitch across the side. So it's really just to close the edge. Does that help?
I think so, yeah. Seeing it up close is a little bit easier for sure. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, people are saying that's helpful in the chat.
Okay, good. So I can do one more loop. Oh, Sylvia's halfway done. But I'll show you my second stitch. So I've come back through the top, dropped 4 more beads, and then I'm coming over top, back through. Oh, I can do 2 layers there. And then you put it as tight as you want. Like I think if you put the stitch close together, so watch this magic. So I'm pulling this tight, and then those ones will secure right above. So there's 2 rows. So hopefully that's helpful.
So I'm finished here with the first one.
Yeah.
Do you want to come in and show
Yes.
them? Like I'm pulling it through just one piece of the hide
Okay.
here, and then I'm going to tie a knot.
So to finish the first side, so here's the whole blue edge to this side, all these beads. See the diagonal form that it takes on? And then to finish, the stitch lands in the middle. So you come back through just the back, and then will it be tied off in there? Yeah, then it'll get tied off inside the pouch and the thread is out of sight. So for the final one, loop it just through the back hide and your knot will stay in the center.
You could either come through the back or through the front, and then you just will cut and you'll make your knots again. And before I do this, I'll make my knot here because I'm going to start on the other side. Okay, so this is ready to go. This is ready to go, and now I'll tie this. So this will go into 4 ties again, 2, 2, 3, because you don't want here, just to secure it down. Okay, so this is ready to go, and then you just cut at the edge of it. And now I'll start on the other side. So I'm starting on the other side here. I will go in through the middle because I don't want the knot to show. And then I'll come back around. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 across.
Okay, so this sample one that Sylvia just finished has 10 loops around both sides of the hide. That's helpful actually, because then you can kind of visualize how much space. If you are making another one, you could also do a pattern on the front. So we showed you the example of my medicine pouch that has that diamond pattern. But if you look on Pinterest, you can actually find some really beautiful, simple outlines of different shapes or symbols. You could find out if you have an elder or a family member or somebody who could maybe tell you a symbol that's really important. You could always spend time beading more detail and then still finishing it with the edge like this. Or always the option to paint it.
Yes, like the buffalo.
Like the buffalo. Or sometimes they're plain too, right?
if someone wanted to paint theirs, would they finish beading it and then they could do that after the fact?
They totally could do that after the fact. So this one was painted before, but I'm gonna show it up close too. But you could bead the edges like we are now, and then take a really good quality acrylic paint. So you can see even the mountains in this have detail to them, white and gray. And then just a very light finishing spray, like a polyurethane spray or a coat, like if you have like a top coat of some kind. And that would only be if you're planning to wear this. Like if you were keeping your medicine pouch somewhere, you know, in your smudge box or somewhere safe, you don't even have to have a strap. Like this one does not have a strap on it. And I normally keep this with my smudge supplies. It was a gift to me. So you don't even have to put the string on the top. But if you're gonna wear it, you're gonna wanna spray it with some kind of a coating just so that the paint doesn't peel away. But this one is about a year old. But I like it because I feel like it tells this story. The buffalo, the Ini, the chief mountain, Nanostico. Mm-hmm. So I think it's an opportunity to really have a story told. So yes, definitely an option. And other people might have an art form or a practice that you're used to. It might be a beautiful way of incorporating, you know, other art forms that we aren't aware of. If you notice mine that I wear has this tinge to it, it's because my face was painted at a ceremony. It was actually at Sylvia's bundle ceremony. And some of the face paint, the ochre, the cleansing face paint got onto this pouch. And I actually have had elders say, oh, I see the paint on that pouch. Like it's sacred. And so I wear this every day. I wear this to work. I wear this everywhere. But I think with wear, they do look a little bit more worn. But I think that tells a story also. So if it's, you know, if it's under your shirt or, you know, we've had patients here at the hospital who have theirs with them at all times. And we've actually had exceptions made where somebody can take it with them into a procedure, or like it's very much honored as part of the care received in the hospital. And I think that that's being more widely received, where it's, you know, honoring those traditional healing practices is essential to receiving quality care. So we see all kinds of these pouches, and sometimes they're very old. You can only imagine that they've been handed down, or, you know, they're beautiful.
And then we can also use Sharpies to do the artwork too.
So that would be a great idea. Most people have access to a Sharpie. So even if you wanted, even on the inside flap, where you have this top lip that comes over, even if on the inside of that you wrote with a Sharpie, you know, maybe you have a spiritual name or a traditional name, and or maybe there's something you want to put in there that's a comforting word, that would be a beautiful place to put that. My Blackfoot name is Ini Buyaki, Buffalo Talking Woman. So that's why I have a lot of items with the buffalo on it, and I really treasure those. What's your Blackfoot name? I know it, but I don't know how to say it.
Eaton Spanch Gyaki, singing alone from above.
Singing alone from above.
Okay, so I'm finished here. And again, just so you know that the deer hide, it always moves. So I just wanted to make sure, and because this, so I have it ready here. The beadwork
Wow.
here, and now that side.
I'm gonna bring it closer. So here's the one Sylvia just did, just like that. And then it takes a little bit of time to train the hide to close, and we'll do the little knot there. But we did a bunch of these for a ceremony a few years ago, and we put them under heavy books to create that crease in the hide. So you could think about that, like putting it in the pages of a heavy book, or, you know, under a mattress or something. So Alana L says she has 3 lines done, but you are closer to 10 than you were 3 lines ago. So keep going.
Oh, that's wicked.
And the repetition, so most people are familiar with Montessori, and we know about Montessori preschools and Montessori for children, but Dr. Montessori also did a bunch of research for older adults. And one of the tasks, or one of the activities that she studied, was a repetitive task like sewing, beading, knitting, that kind of thing. And it can actually reduce the heart rate and allow the brain to get to a place where it's producing the good hormones like oxytocin. So taking your time to do this, maybe you make a cup of tea, and you know, there's no rush to have it done tonight in this timeline just because we have this hour set aside. You might want to work on this for half an hour every day and just set it aside and come back to it and make it a meditation. You know, make it that beautiful way of honoring the past.
The breathing session.
Yes.
So now that I'm finished, I'm just gonna do a round edge for the front part here. So how I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna use my finger, and I'm gonna come around to the edge of the corner here, and I'm gonna take my scissors, and I'm using my finger as to make my round edge here. So here you go, here's the round edge. I'll go to the other side, and again I'm using my finger for a marker, and I'm doing a round edge. Now we have a round edge of the, and what we're gonna do now is we're gonna do a hole punch here, and we'll strap it down. So I've already cut out a strip here, and we'll go ahead and we have a hole puncher here. I'm gonna open the lap, and again, I'm gonna use my fingers as a marker, or sometimes it's easier to do the top one first so you know, and then you just follow it, or vice versa. So here it goes, so here's one's here. We've used this for so many pouches that
It's dull. And if you don't have a leather punch and you want to add this part, this is optional to add the little tie, which you'll see. You can use a nail and a hammer, put the pouch down onto wood, and then just punch it with a nail and pull the nail back out. Anything to be able to allow you to lace it shut, kind of like adding a buttonhole.
And also you can sew the strap onto. So here I have 2 hole punch.
Can I hold it up so people can see? So here's the little, just 2 little punctures. You could even do it with a needle or something and then just make a circle to pull them apart. And then if you watch the threading of this part, that will translate to a whole nother way to do the pouch.
So now we'll do the marking of the inside. Do you have a pen here?
Yes.
just want to make sure that it's even, so I'm just gonna dab the two, and then I know where I'm do the hole punch. Because our hole puncher is dull, I have to use my scissors to cut the. Okay, so I have this ready to go to tie down. Now I will use the high portion of this, and I'll come in through underneath here. In your medicine pouch, do you have your sage and sweetgrass together?
I do.
Okay, good.
Yes. So Sylvia is pulling up some small pieces of hide to be able to tie this, but one lesson that I learned was that no little scrap of hide is thrown in the garbage. So if you have these little scraps from doing the corners or anything like that, save them, because they need to be offered back to Mother Earth. So whether it's with a tobacco offering or buried or somehow given back, but the utmost respect for this animal. And I learned that the hard way when I was cleaning up and putting it all into my hand and about to put it in the garbage. And I never, ever, ever went to go do that again, and I keep it all in a little pouch now.
Okay, so here we have one here, ready to go. Let's tie a knot or tie a double knot here. And this is ready to go.
Okay, so we have one ready to go. Beautiful. So here's one with the tie. So a little bit of a different style than this one with no tie. So this is another option to be able to tie it down with a little scrap of hide. And see those rounded edges that Sylvia showed you with, so it looks less like an envelope, and that's the shape of her thumb. So there's the little one. Here's another option. It's already 7:45, so I think we should do one more with just the lacing. But before we do that, there are several options for the tie. So this, or for the strap. So this one has a piece of hide. So when I wear it, this piece of hide goes on like a necklace. But you might have access to or be able to make something like this, a lanyard. So this beaded lanyard was given to me. It was made, yes, perfect, Michelle. That would be gorgeous. This one was made by Sylvia's sister, Marge. And so that, if you wanted to sew the corners into the edge, would be absolutely beautiful. Like putting this one has the hook on it, but you wouldn't have to keep the hook. But picture it looking like this, right? You get the idea. Or you can buy those leather laces for making little bracelets, things like that. Or you might have access to sinew. And this is sort of a waxy material. It's an artificial rawhide. Something like this would be really interesting also. I've seen it with, I don't know if it was leather or what, but braided around the neck. So lots of different options to be able to be creative and make it unique.
So, are we gonna go with the last, or?
Yeah, I think we have time to show one more. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do a sample here with just the hole puncher here. I will go ahead and mark again, and again, I'm just gonna use my small fingers here, and I'll do the hole punch here as we go, or I'll just go ahead and I'll mark it so that we have an even, and I'm just gonna go 4 along the edge. And I'll go. It's really hard when you want to be,
Perfect.
yes.
I have to say to Sylvia all the time, because we get ourselves into all kinds of groups and programs and situations, and I have to say all the time, there's no such thing as perfect. It's good enough. No such thing as perfect.
Okay, so I marked it, so I'm gonna go through with the hole puncher, and I'll go right through, and then I'll use the hide to. What's the time?
It's 7:48, so we have a little bit of time. While we do this though, Michelle, I don't know if you want to peek at the chat, because we could certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. We did have someone ask where they might be able to get more deer hide, and I know I kind of depended on you to source it, and it wasn't super easy.
You can get deer hide at craft stores, but it is incredibly expensive. And we really wanted to be able to find an Indigenous supplier if possible. So I actually consulted another elder of mine who connected me with a rural person with a tannery. And what we tried to do was get hides that didn't have the chemical treatment on the one side. So you know, you might want to make sure what you have, the needle will go through if you find some. You might have access to a hunter or somebody who, you know, they have their hides. And
The Edmonton area, they have tandies.
oh, there's also tandies, like there are commercial suppliers. You just might pay quite a bit for some of those, you know, some of them are $100 for a fairly small hide. And so we have this one that I showed you with the painting. This one is actually a buffalo hide. So I'm actually going to look through a few of these questions because there's some very good questions. So Sylvia, could you speak to the medicines that might be carried in these hides? So somebody asked the significance of the medicines or what we're putting in. Why do we have sage? So mine has sage and sweetgrass. That's how it was given to me by Sylvia. And why are those the medicines that we carry?
So, again, for myself, I had elders come to me in showing me what our sweetgrass and sage is for. So they said in a combination of tying the sweetgrass and the sage is a cleansing portion that we use to cleanse ourselves, and the sweetgrass is what we use that is really powerful in our Indigenous ways that with those two combined together, it's providing us with the protection that we need. Again, for me, it's working here in the healthcare field where I walk through and helping people that are sick. And again, sometimes out there, what I'm seeing right now is a lot of like negative energy of our technology world that we have. So it's just a protection that we use to help ourselves. And again, when we do prey upon and using the sweetgrass, we are asking the Creator to walk with us and to protect us all day long and to guide us. So at the end of the day, we smudge again with the sage and the sweetgrass, and the pouch that Heidi has here, we usually will smudge that too, and thanking the Creator for helping us in this day that we had, walking and guiding us and protecting us all day long.
I recently went to Vancouver a couple weekends ago, and Sylvia said to me, will you make a tobacco offering for me at the edge of the ocean, like when you're standing by the ocean? And so I did, and I carried that tobacco in this pouch also. And when I got to the edge of the ocean, I just put it into my hand to make the offering. So I carried it in this pouch as a way of keeping it safe and sacred. We do have some connections to some elders in Winnipeg, Treaty 1 territory, and we share ceremony with them in the fall every year at a buffalo harvest, and they also carry sweet pine. So it depends on the teaching of that nation and the medicines that are indigenous to that nation. And so it might be a really wonderful thing to be able to do a little bit of learning and research about the significance. I also know one of the elders that we work with, Harley Crowshoe, he was an RCMP and lived all over Western Canada, but he told me he carries sweet pine, and it was given to him as his protector when he was at a nation in BC, because he was picking it and sensed something behind him, and when he turned, it was a bear, and the bear turned and walked away from him. So the elders gave him that medicine as his protector. So I hear stories like that about the medicine also. They want to see the holes one more time up close.
Oh, okay. So I'm just, okay.
Yes. So it's, if you were to fold this piece, it would fold at the bottom just like we did with room for the pouch. And there's 4 all the way through both sides of the hide. So altogether there's 8 per side. So when you fold it, there's 4 per side, 2 holes deep. Does that make sense? And then Sylvia's just gonna show you how to lace it. And while we do that, I'm gonna look to the chat here because I don't wanna miss anybody's. I wish we were in person and could all just talk. Okay, here we go. Let me see.
I'm wondering if you might be able to touch on, and I think you maybe said it earlier, how to store this. Like, it's not something you want to just, leave in your car or be using as a decorative piece, right? Can you talk a little bit about that, because this is a sacred piece?
And again, as I was taught by my elder, because it's a sacred item, it's always good to have it protected and close by you. The pouch, I usually keep mine by my bedside, and in the morning I smudge with it, and I wear that along too. So it's something that is sacred that we need to. But again, the sacred plants that we tie together and put into the pouch is protected too with the hide. So again, you can show your pouch like throughout the day, or you could also put it into your shirt. But with Heidi's, it's a lot of bead work on it, so she keeps hers out on that.
Yeah, I also wear mine because I work a lot in a vulnerable population, and sometimes this pouch can be a conversation starter where maybe I'm trying to provide care for somebody and there's a lack of trust, but they might see this and say, oh, okay, tell me about this, or they have one on too. And so I find as a non-Indigenous person who walks closely with my Indigenous family, I find it's a way of building a connection or a trust or a rapport. And there's one more question about talking about holding the medicines. And I think we may have touched on that with the utmost respect, but We do a medicine gathering at the end of June or in July every year, and the elders said to do it when the sun is the hottest time of the day. So if it's 2 o'clock that the sun is in the sky and it's the hottest time, that's when it's the most powerful to harvest the medicine. And so we gathered, the sage I carry, we gathered on one of those hot summer days after a tobacco offering and a prayer. One time I was floating down the river, this is last summer with my sister, and I could smell mint, and I was overwhelmed with the strength of the smell of mint. So I quickly phoned Sylvia and I said, I'm on the river and I smell this mint. I can see the mint. And so she made a tobacco offering. She said, gather some mint. And I gathered a whole bag of mint, and I knew how to gather it because I'd been shown. And we use that mint here for patients also to make tea. So we could do a whole one of these segments just on the use of some of these medicines. There's one question here too, and then I want to get back to these beads. But somebody was talking about the dexterity, maybe not having the dexterity to do these fine beads. I totally get you, because I also, like, this is taking me a lot of patience. There's lots of sizes of beads. Oh, this is the one I want to show you. So the ones we're using are called seed beads, but these beads are a number 6. I'm going to hold up the whole bag, and they're quite a bit bigger. Can you see that these are quite a bit bigger? So there's still a small bead. They don't look as intricate, but they're bigger than a seed bead. So you can get a 6, you can get an 8. There's different sizes. You could also leave the beads off, but then put larger beads like these onto the strap. So and these you can get wooden beads, decorative beads. I've seen people use, like, having broken earrings or things like that. Repurpose the beads, like use something really beautiful. I've also seen beads made out of those ghost beads. Are they a seed?
Seed bead,
Yeah, so actually dehydrated seeds with holes punched in, soaked in water, and then the needle punches through, and when they dry, they're weightless and like a bead. So wonderful opportunity to be able to problem solve a little bit. Look at some of the books, look at the internet, and try to find some alternatives and some different ideas and make it your own. Are there any more questions? Because we're coming up to 8 o'clock, and I don't know if this times out like Zoom or like a regular meeting, or I don't know, Michelle.
It won't, but I think we do want to be respectful of your time, given that it is the evening, and to everybody else. There was a question in regards to, and I think you guys kind of touched on it. Do you have to be gifted the medicines?
In our Indigenous ways, we share and with in the reconciliation that we walk together, and that in one of our protocols is sharing our knowledge. So tonight that I've shared with you, this is a gift that I'm sharing my knowledge with you, showing you how to do the medicine pouch here. I'm giving all this to you now for you to take and to start your own journey with it. And so, like Heidi said, in the springtime, if you're up north and in different Indigenous territories, and whatever you use for smudging is something that you could take and put into your own pouch. It does not necessarily have to be sage and sweetgrass. It's something that you value that you could put into the pouch here. So after, like right now, I just want to quickly explain this here. I've did the hole punches, and now I'm just looping everything through, and it will come right back down to the end here, where it will end up like this with
So see how it laces? Can you see this? Like knotted here to hold the strand, laced back, laced through like those, you know, just like you'd be lacing. Then it will come around, you pick your length, and then it'll lace back down the other side. So this one will be self-contained. Yeah.
So it's always good to go out and ask your elders or, you know, people that you know in your area and to explain to what they use as their own as a medicine, because here in southern Alberta, it was elders that came forward to us and showed us how to use the sage and sweetgrass and showed us how to tie it. And we were just using little cloth bags at first. So we would cut a cloth and put our tie our sweetgrass, and a lot of times we would give that to our patients. But as time went by, we had elders come in and say, okay, tie that together, put it into a cloth, and they would use the orchard to bless the medicine pouch. And that's what we give out when patients ask for, when they smudge and they're having a very difficult time. They'll ask us if we have the pouch, if we have the medicine here, the sage, and that's what we give them too. So it really depends on where you're from, and that would be something that I would encourage you to go out and talk to your elders and to find out what which plant they use for, and you could use that plant for the pouches here. So it's all about our protocols and sharing our knowledge that will continue to be passed down to another generation. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for that. If it's okay, we have one more question, and then I will wrap up, just again, being respectful of everybody's time. And this has been incredible. Everyone is very grateful in the chat. And I know we are certainly at Compassion House Foundation as well. I'm gonna ask, how do I find an elder? I was adopted and want to connect.
Again, being adopted out, and there is a lot of, because we work under AHS, and it's Indigenous Wellness Core that we were throughout southern Alberta. So you can reach out to an elder, and they're called, in the Edmonton zone area, they're called the cultural helpers. You can go in and, I know they are located in all the hospitals, the Indigenous Wellness Core. You can request for an elder there. Elder will come forward, and then you could walk with your elder. That's where, like from here in the hospital, they will request for an elder to come and see them. And this is where we come in. And we also help them too when they leave the hospital, go into the community, we continue to support them. Yeah, that's the only thing that I could think of right now that you could, in the hospital, there is cultural helpers, there's elders there, and they will connect you to the right resources or to the right elder that's out in your community.
One thought, tell me if this is on track, Sylvia, but if you look to the calls to action in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, and that those calls to action are the 94, they were developed by input from thousands of Indigenous Canadians and people from across the country. And I think some of the tips are so practical, some of the calls to action. Attend a ceremony, show up at a powwow. If there's an event happening, an awareness event, show up. And you know, you can get involved in that way too. If you went to a powwow, somebody's gonna offer you tea. The generosity and the spirit of the Indigenous people is so open and so warm And so I think that putting yourself out there is also a way that, like, wisdom will be shared, that I just am humbled about a story, or I'll get included to have my face painted or something. And so I think some of those calls to action are another great way to get involved. Read a book by an Indigenous person, understand some Indigenous art. Like, you know, if there's a gallery or an opening or a showing, show up. And sometimes those conversations, just the open-heartedness, might lead to the perfect connection. So putting your heart out there might just lead you home.
Awesome. Well, again, the chat is incredibly grateful. People are saying thank you. They really enjoyed this. It was a very peaceful project. You know, very, very positive feedback. So thank you so much for spending an evening with us, for sharing your teachings and your knowledge. This has been so special to us. I'm halfway done, so I'm hopeful that maybe I went with the Compassion House kind of brand colors with the turquoise. So we'll see if I'm able to get that finished. I only poked myself a few times. But I would love, and I'm sure that everyone, you know, based on the chat, would love to potentially do a follow-up with you on more the specifics around picking medicines and the pieces around that, because I think that a lot of curiosity in that as well. So thank you again from the bottom of our hearts. This was absolutely wonderful, and I hope that we can continue to connect with you as we move forward.
Thank you. And to each of you, may you just have a safe and beautiful journey, and maybe our paths will cross. Yeah, thank you for having us, Michelle.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and everyone have a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you.